The story begins by showing a group of motorbike gangs called outcasts who are cruel and sadistic. Here, they are gathering at their headquarters under the guise of a bar, but inside, they are producing drugs. This motorbike gang group has a leader named Danny. He is Jojo, Danny's biological son, and next to him is Dalton, Danny's right-hand man and a very trusted person. But in fact, Dalton is a special agent who has long been undercover in the gang, and his real name is Broker. It turns out that night has become the schedule for the police to raid the outcast motorbike gang headquarters, where outside the headquarters, there are already many special agents preparing to attack the motorbike gang headquarters. After Broker gave directions inside the headquarters, all agents immediately attacked the place. But here, Danny's men don't want to be caught and immediately attack the agents, making the shootout inevitable. But in the middle of the battle, Danny and his son Jojo manage to escape by car. The Broker, whose identity is known, immediately chases Danny using a motorbike. The chase ensues, but because the police have surrounded all the places, Danny is helpless and cannot escape any further. But before being caught, Danny decides to take revenge on the Broker by crashing the car into the Broker. But the Broker jumped straight away, setting Danny's car on fire. Here, Danny is cooperative and obeys the directions of the Broker but not Jojo. He instead intends to take action against him so that he must be killed by bullets by the police. Danny, who saw that, was then furious at Broker, who had killed his son. Danny vowed to take revenge on Broker someday. Broker, who saw it, was also saddened and felt guilty considering that he was very close to Jojo during the undercover period. On that day, Broker finally decided to resign from the special forces. The scene then moves to 2 years later, where we are shown with a beautiful girl named Maddie who is playing. It is known that Maddie is the daughter of Broker. While playing, Maddie is disturbed by a fat boy named Teddy, who suddenly snatches Maddie's hat. Initially, Maddie kindly asks for her hat back, but because Teddy continues to mock her, Maddie is forced to beat Teddy until his nose bleeds.
Giddy. Ask twice.
However, her actions were seen by a teacher who immediately brought Maddie into the school. The scene then moves to Broker, who is with his friend Tito, who is fixing the stairs of his new house. It is known that Broker and his daughter have just moved to a quiet and peaceful village. But not long after, Broker was contacted by the school, where he received news that his daughter had made trouble. Hearing this quickly, Broker headed to the school. Upon arrival at the school, Broker found that Teddy's parents, Cassie and Jimmy, seemed unacceptable and angry if their son was beaten by Maddie. Broker then met Maddie and her teacher, Susan. There, Maddie explained every detail of the chronology as if she were only defending herself because Teddy was the first to bother her. Broker, who knew his daughter's attitude, did not scold her because he knew that Maddie did not like to look for trouble. After that, Broker and Maddie were about to go home, but outside the school, Cassie and Jimmy were still waiting for them. Here, Cassie is very upset and encourages her husband, Jimmy, to beat up Broker and Maddie, but fortunately, there is one of the sheriffs who tries to calm the situation. Broker also tried to apologize directly, but from behind, Jimmy tried to hit Broker.
Get in there! Mosey on!
Broker, a former Special Forces officer, obviously had highly trained reflexes, so he easily parried the punch and threw him to the ground, making them the focus of attention of all the teachers and parents at the school. Jimmy and Cassie left with a burning grudge that could be inferred if Cassie was a woman with temperamental emotions. The sheriff, who knows the nature of Cassie's family, immediately tells Broker not to make trouble with Cassie, considering that she is a very temperamental woman and has a gangster family. The scene then moves to a group of teenagers who are having a drug party in an abandoned house. Not long after, a tattooed thug came in holding a baseball bat. He was Gator Bodine, who was a drug dealer and gangster boss in the area. Gator was very angry and immediately hit one of the teenagers' legs until it was broken. It was because he did not like it if anyone dared to consume drugs in his area. But here, Gator forgave them and let them go from that place. But it turns out that the rest of the teenagers' drugs were deliberately taken by Gator and used by him. The scene then moves to Cassie, who comes to meet Gator. It turns out that Cassie is Gator's sibling. Cassie, who still did not accept that her son and husband were beaten by Broker, then told Gator to teach Broker a lesson. The meeting was also used by Cassie to ask Gator for free drugs to overcome her dizziness.
I'll handle that broker thing.
Thank you.
The following day, Broker takes Maddie to school. At school, Broker meets teacher Susan. Broker said that he would organize Maddie's birthday party and wanted to invite teacher Susan and her friends to improve relations with teachers and friends. Susan's teacher was very happy, especially since Broker trusted her to take care of all the needs for the event. Before Broker went home, Mrs. Susan said that since the beating incident, Broker and Maddie's names had become the talk of everyone in the village. Therefore, Mrs. Susan told Broker to settle it nicely so the problem would not get longer. The enlightenment from Mrs. Susan earlier touched Broker's heart, so he went straight to Jimmy and apologized directly for the previous incident. Fortunately, Jimmy has a heart different from Cassie's, and Jimmy gracefully accepts Broker's apology. After that, Broker continued his journey home, but on the way, he stopped briefly at a petrol station to refuel. But while Broker was refueling, two of Gator's henchmen approached Broker to beat him up. Before that, they tried to provoke Broker's emotions first with the aim that Broker was the one who started the fight, but Broker was not easily provoked. He seemed relaxed and did not care about them. But here, Broker's anger could no longer be contained after they uttered words of intimidation and threats against him and Maddie. As a result, Broker went berserk and beat them all very easily. The scene moves to Gator, who is making drugs in his private warehouse. Suddenly, he is called by his men. They say that the broker is so strong and tough that it makes them battered. Hearing this then makes Gator very angry and emotional because as long as he lived in this village, there has never been anyone who humiliated him like this. Because of that, he will take care of Broker himself. Back to Broker with Maddie who was on his way home. Suddenly he was followed and stopped by the sheriff. Because Broker had made trouble at the petrol station earlier, the sheriff reprimanded and reminded him to behave in this village because he had trouble with the wrong person. Arriving home, Broker and Maddie immediately spend time together playing horses in the forest area behind his house. But Gator was watching them from a distance. Seeing an opportunity, Gator punctured Broker's car tire and sneaked into the house. There, he took Maddie's favorite doll and cat. Not only that, he also checked the whole house and found Broker's file room. Gator then took Broker's personal files. Then, at night, Maddie searched for her missing doll. Without it, Maddie couldn't sleep. Broker, who loves his daughter very much, promised to look for his doll until he found it. However, when he was about to get into his car, he was very surprised to find that someone had punctured his car tire. Feeling that their safety was threatened, Broker quickly searched for the perpetrator around his house, but instead of the person he found, Broker found his daughter's doll's head stuck in a tree. Getting the terror then made Broker sleep uneasy because he feared something bad would happen to Maddie. The scene then moves to Gator, who is investigating Broker's personal data, which he stole earlier. After carefully examining the data, Gator is surprised and amazed because Broker is not ordinary. Based on the data, Gator learns that Broker used to be a former Special Forces officer. Moreover, Broker once disguised himself as a member of a notoriously brutal motorbike gang called Outcast. Because he is also a criminal, Gator finds out if Broker also made Jojo, Danny's son, die because of his disguise. With that information, Gator quickly contacted his female friend, Cheryl. Gator invited her to meet somewhere to carry out an evil plan to Broker. The next morning, they met there. Gator immediately gave the broker's personal file to Cheryl and told her to give it to Danny because he knew that Danny still held a grudge against the broker. Cheryl initially refused because she was afraid of having to deal with Danny again, but Gator continued to persuade Cheryl. He said that Danny would definitely be happy with the gift and felt indebted to those who had found Broker so that they would get the opportunity to work together in the drug business with Danny's group. Hearing this, Cheryl finally agreed to help give the file to Danny. The scene returns to the broker, who meets Jimmy at his workplace. Broker thinks that Jimmy was the mastermind behind the terror last night. Here, Broker threatens Jimmy. If he still does that, then he will not hesitate to beat Jimmy to death. After that, Broker went to the doll shop to buy a new doll for Maddie. The loss of her favorite doll made Maddie's days sad. Meanwhile, Cheryl went to Danny's lawyer to give Broker's personal file. The lawyer quickly meets and gives the file to Danny, who is still imprisoned. Danny, who saw Broker's photos and files, immediately made his emotions peak because until now, he still held a grudge against Broker for killing his son. Danny also told his lawyer to beat off Broker at all costs. In the morning, Broker took Maddie to school. Upon arrival, Maddie suddenly reprimanded Teddy and his mother for yesterday's incident and apologized to them. Not only that, Maddie also invited Teddy and his mother to come to her birthday party later. After Maddie and Teddy entered the school, Broker immediately apologized to Cassie for what happened earlier. Arriving home, Broker and Tito immediately made decorations for Maddie's birthday party. While working, Tito told Broker that any terror he experienced was not from Jimmy because, as long as he lived in this village, he knew very well that Jimmy was a very cowardly person, and there was no way he could do something like that. Tito suspected that the person behind Broker's terror was Gator, Cassie's brother, because Gator was a gangster leader who had a lot of men, and what was even more surprising was that the sheriff and Gator had worked together for a long time, so that Gator could safely produce his own drugs without fear of being raided by the police. Tito also said that if Broker wanted to meet Gator, he could find him on the banks of the river in a place that masqueraded as a car repair shop but was actually a drug production site inside. Long story short, Maddie's birthday began. It seems that every guest who comes is very much, and Cassie and Teddy are no exception. They seem to have begun to get along with the Broker's family. Meanwhile, Danny's men elsewhere were already on the hunt for the Broker. They arrived at the village, and they quickly met Cheryl. This man is Cyrus, Danny's most sadistic and cruel subordinate. After successfully meeting with Cheryl, Cyrus asked where the Broker's house was currently located. But before saying it, Cheryl asked if she and Gator got a reward for working together in Danny's drug business. Cyrus, who has a high temperament, immediately became angry when Cheryl dared to play with him. Cyrus then threatened Cheryl that if she didn't tell him now, he would crush her face bones. A frightened Cheryl immediately told him the location of Broker's house. In the evening, Cassie met Gator again. She said that her problem with the Broker was over, and Gator no longer needed to bother them. Before going home again, Cassie asked her brother for free drugs, but Gator refused Cassie's request because Gator knew that his sister had a high level of addiction and did not want her to die from an overdose. Back to Broker, who contacted an old friend from his time in the Special Forces, he asked to find out Gator's criminal record. Broker's friend also said that Gator often dealt with the law, but because he bribed corrupt officials, he was always free from the law. He also said that Broker should be careful with Gator's friend Cheryl because she had been involved in illegal business with Danny. If Broker's identity was leaked to him, then it was certain that Danny would hunt Broker down. In the morning, Broker immediately looks for Gator at one of the eateries in the village, where he meets Tito, who is also having breakfast. Broker immediately meets Gator, who is with Cheryl. Broker also threatened Gator and Cheryl. He said if they dared to disturb his house or his daughter, then get ready, they would face him directly. After that, Broker went straight to Gator's house. There, he looked for something in various corners of the house and workshop. After a long search, the Broker finally managed to find a secret room that is believed to be a place to produce drugs. There, he managed to find kilos of drugs that were ready to be distributed by Gator. To destroy everything, Broker immediately set a trap where he filled every lamp with explosives with the aim that if someone turned it on, then the lamp would create a fairly large explosion and burn all the drugs in that place. When he was about to leave there, suddenly Broker found his daughter's favorite cat in that place. When Broker was about to take it, he was immediately held at gunpoint by Gator's men, but Broker easily dodged and beat him. When Broker was about to take his daughter's cat back suddenly from behind, Broker was hit with a gun until he fainted unconscious.
Hey, Broker.
Broker was severely tortured by Gator's men, but thanks to his experience in the Special Forces, Broker very easily escaped and finished them all off. Broker's fighting skills are extraordinary. Even though his hands are tied, he can still defeat all of Gator's men.
Get home.
Meanwhile, Cyrus has now arrived at Gator's residence. Gator, who saw that Cyrus brought many men, seemed worried that there would be a big war in that place, which would make the police focus and would threaten his drug industry. Cyrus also invited Gator to join him in killing Broker, but Gator refused because he realized that there would be bloodshed, and he did not want to be the perpetrator who had killed Broker. Unfortunately for Cheryl, who was taken prisoner by Cyrus as well as to be a roadmap for them. Broker, who realized that unwanted things would happen, immediately told Tito to bring all his horses to be deposited at his house. Not long after, Cyrus' troops arrived and immediately spread out in all directions to look for Broker. One of Cyrus' men looking for Broker in the stables was attacked by Tito, who was still there. Tito quickly honked the car horn as a sign for Broker if a bad guy attacked his house. Unfortunately, due to his actions, Tito was shot by Cyrus. Hearing this, Broker then rushed to take Maddie to be hidden in a safe place. Before leaving, Broker told Maddie to immediately call the police and ask for help because criminals were attacking her house. After that, Broker immediately took a shotgun, and there was a very exciting shootout. Unfortunately, in the midst of the battle, one of Cyrus' men discovered Maddie's hiding place. Maddie quickly fled into the forest so as not to be caught. Cheryl, who heard the gunshots, was very frightened. She immediately contacted Gator and said that the Broker's residence had become a battlefield. After Broker finished all of Cyrus' men, he quickly caught up with Maddie, who was now being hunted by one of Cyrus' men. And when Maddie was about to be shot from behind, luckily, Broker arrived and immediately shot Cyrus' men. At that moment, it turned out that Cyrus was following Broker, and there was a fierce battle between them. Broker, who did not want anything to happen to Maddie, immediately told her to hurry up and run for help. After a long fight, finally, Broker managed to defeat Cyrus. Meanwhile, Maddie met Cheryl. Cheryl quickly caught and took Maddie by boat. Broker, who lost track of Maddie, immediately returned to his house. The police were very crowded after receiving a report from Maddie. There, Broker also found Tito, who turned out to be alive because he was not shot in the vital part. Meanwhile, Maddie managed to inform Broker and said that she was taken by Cheryl to a place where there was a big fan near the river. On hearing this, Broker knew that Maddie had been taken to Gator's drug warehouse. Broker quickly heads there in a police car. Meanwhile, Gator, who arrived at his house, was very surprised to find that Cheryl had brought Maddie to his residence, so he would also be in trouble. In the middle of the conversation, Cassie and Jimmy suddenly arrive at Gator's place. Gator panicked and told Cheryl to hide Maddie.
Gator, don't what, bitch? You're the fucking champion, Abby! You brought a fucking witness here?
But the smart Maddie immediately screamed, making Cassie suspicious. Cassie switches on the lights to find out the source of the noise, and that's when all the lights explode and burn all of Gator's drugs. Gator, who saw that all his drugs had been burned, looked very angry and furious. He quickly snatched Maddie from the hands of Cassie, who wanted to save her. But Cassie refused until Gator accidentally shot his own sister in the stomach.
You stay here! I'm warning you!
After that, Gator quickly took Maddie somewhere, and at the same time, it turned out that Broker had arrived, so there was a chase. Here, all exits are blocked by the police, leaving Gator to cross the bridge. Because Broker's car is too fast and hits the bridge barrier, Broker's car flips over.
Now the operator of the Intercoastal Bridge.
Gator got out of his car, where he was furious and wanted to kill Broker, but Maddie cried and begged her father not to be killed. At the same time, the sheriffs and policemen were also in a position to shoot Gator. Broker, who saw Gator's negligence, took advantage of the opportunity and beat Gator mercilessly.
Back in the car right now!
When Broker wanted to kill him, he suddenly cancelled his intention after seeing Maddie, who witnessed his brutality. The sheriff quickly arrested Gator and Cheryl, who were involved in all this, while Cassie survived after not being shot in the vital parts. The scene moves to a few days later when Danny gets a visit from someone, and it turns out to be a broker who threatens if he will wait for Danny to get out of prison. And the movie is over. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy, hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. You should watch the full movie. Thank you very much for watching.